Hello everybody, this is Gregory with 100 Pounds Off for 30 plus years. Hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to talk about whether or not drugs like Ozempic and its sibling drugs are going to make it obsolete for people to have to do the deep work to realize why they had disordered eating in the first place. Now before we begin, if you need help with weight loss, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. I lost over 100 pounds. I kept it off for 30 plus years. I'm coming up on my 34th anniversary on May 4th. I might be able to help you. Also subscribe, post a comment if you like. So we've talked about a lot more about Ozempic compared to the beginning of this channel, which is probably 3 years ago, because Ozempic really didn't exist as a weight loss drug, because really it's for diabetics, or injection I should say, but it's really for diabetics. But we've seen this revolution take over where first it was celebrities and the very wealthy that would take the injections off label. Of course, diabetics were upset with this because it limited the supply and it made the price more expensive. But now you see drug companies making essentially the same drug as Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy, all these other ones. And so this drug is here to stay. And if you look at the studies about its long-term medical risks, it's pretty substantial. But I think the majority of people are so desperate to lose weight, they don't care. So the question needs to be posited. Now that we essentially have a miracle pill, miracle injection, are people even going to try to lose weight the old-fashioned way? Are people really even going to try to resolve the disordered relationship they have with food in the first place? Because really now there's no motivation. See, if you had a disordered relationship with food, and I've talked about it here for 3 years, it's mostly due to trauma that happened to you that made you turn to food to soothe the pain. But now that we essentially have a magic pill, are people really going to do the deep work? So when they gain the weight, back in the day, like when I was younger, you had the options of losing it the natural way like I did, or maybe you could do bypass. But bypass, of course, had complications. It was surgery. You could have long-term problems. The suicidal rate of those that had gastric bypass is higher. This is why a lot of people, I think this is still the standard, that before you can have gastric bypass, you have to have a psych eval done. And of course, it affects what you can eat and how much you can eat for the rest of your life, and you have to go back and get surgeries done. So there was like a consequence. But now, there's essentially Ozempic and its related drugs and injections, where, yeah, it does lead to muscle loss. Yeah, it can destroy your pancreas and other problems. But see, you're like, oh, well, that's in the future. I'm not going to worry about it. Give me the magic injection. And so if there is a drug that can essentially make you lose weight, it's like the path of least resistance. We know that water takes the path of least resistance. And so now this will be the path of least resistance. People aren't going to do it the old school way and change their eating, change their drinking, change their booze drinking, change their sleep, exercise, all the things we've talked about here. That's hard. I don't need to do that. And so now that Ozempic is going to be more affordable and easier for people to access, there's really no reason, not to gain a lot of weight and eat a bunch of junk, because you can just take this later on. Kind of like the Roman vomitoriums back in the day, where the Romans would just eat a bunch of food and vomit it up. So they would enjoy the food, the Epicurean delight of the food, but no long-term lasting effects because they would just vomit it up. So it's kind of like that. And I worry that in the long run, you're still not dealing with the effects. So yeah, you might be able to take Ozempic, but all that trauma that led you to have a disordered eating, you never addressed. So it's probably going to be manifested in other ways. Excessive shopping, excessive porn addiction, excessive booze drinking, and other things. So I would say, don't look at the path of least resistance with Ozempic. Do the deep work, even though it's hard, and use that to finally have long-term resolution with your disordered eating. That way you can have long-term permanent weight loss. Guys, post in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.